A lot of the other Iranian movies are produced by the Revolutionary Guard. Or, on the other side, you have Hollywood Hitjobs, you have Argos.
You're listening to Cinema Rex, an Iranian film podcast, episode 70. A Hollywood hit job special, Jon Stewart's Rosewater.
Do rude bar show ma. Do stone Aziz.
Hi.
You're listening to the Cinema Rex podcast where we talk all things Iranian cinema.
Iranian.
We talk the Iranian cinema.
Did we just do an entire episode with all the Hollywood hit jobs with just the most American accents we can do?
I wasn't even thinking that because it's a Hollywood hit job.
Yeah,
but that's
you go Southern, I'll go New York.
Can you do it, Brooke? Are you good with accents? I'm bad at accents.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, tough guy over here.
That's not bad.
Watching that Iranian movie over here, tough guy. Who's this Jon
I think it's more
guy?
than just saying over here, over there.
Over here, hey, over here. How you doing?
I'm Kavi Mohebi.
And I am Farhan Moradi.
And thank you for tuning in to a very nice special episode. Now, can I wax poetically for a second before we dive into this?
Absolutely.
This
wax
episode?
on. Wax on, wax
I'm just going to go on a little rant here. Let me go on a little Kave's rant corner.
Go ahead, Mr. Miyagi.
Because I think a lot of our fans have become accustomed to a certain hit job episode every 10 where we really do roast a film or take it down a notch for its appropriation or misuse, or sometimes it's just flat out racism that is sort of brought to the cinematic arts in the name of telling a true story or whatever it is. And I think Hollywood hit job can mean a lot of things, and not always do those things.
What does Hollywood hit job mean to you, Kavi?
Well, it's a moniker that's coined from the term that remind me of the filmmaker who first said it in that interview.
Holy Spider.
Yeah, that's the name of the director, Mr. Spider.
No, Mr. Spider, actually. Holy's his first name. Ali Abbasi.
Ali Abbasi had said it about referencing the misappropriation and the misuse of Iranian cultural integrity to tell Hollywood stories. And in doing so, he called it a Hollywood hit job, using Argo as a direct reference. But I think not always do the films that we cover in these Hollywood hit jobs have to be movies that are done in bad faith.
Mm-hmm.
There is an upcoming future Hollywood hit job that I am excited to do, and I won't say what that is. You know what it is, Farhan, but our devoted listeners don't know. That I love the movie. I'm in love with the movie, and I actually think it could fall under the parameters of just being a regular episode. Had it been for the fact that none of the creative leads in any respect are Iranian. But I love the movie. It's the documentary.
Yeah.
But that'll be a future Hollywood hit job that I love. I absolutely love it. I'm so glad this film exists. And I think today's film, Jon Stewart's Rosewater, follows a little bit closer to that category. It's not a film. I mean, it's a flawed film, and we'll obviously go over to all the discussions, but in my opinion, at least. But I do not believe that this is a film that was filmed under bad faith, especially after going over dozens and dozens of interviews. The press tour for this film was vast because of the story behind the story.
Yeah.
I actually do want to insert a lot of clips, which I kind of want to play for you, Farhan, as well, just to get your reactions, but also we'll insert them here because it's an interesting story about, well, there's several layers to this. There is the story that we see in the film. There's the story that was the reason for the cause of the real story. And then there's the story of the aftermath of what happened when this film came out. So there's it's like a story sandwich, 6-inch assorted sub.
Well, do you want to say what movie we're doing?
Yes, we are covering Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. No, this is, of course, Jon Stewart's Rosewater. The people who know this will have they've clicked it, and they will have seen the title when you've introduced it so eloquently.
If it had a Persian name, it would be Golab.
Yes. And I will dive into a plot summary before we go on and discuss this further, where we'll get your reactions. Oh, and also, I also think that we don't have a guest. It's our first time doing a Hollywood hit job without a guest. That's partially due to scheduling, but also, you know what? Sometimes, I don't think this film needs to be treated with we typically get a comedic voice.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a film that you don't need to it doesn't have to be roasted upon, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair.
You may disagree.
And if you disagree, you're wrong.
Yes.
And if you are offended by that statement, Kave's address is
724 Evergreen Terrace. So let's dive into a plot summary for Jon Stewart's Rosewater. Rosewater is based on the true story of Iranian-Canadian journalist Maziar Bahari, who returned to Iran to cover the disputed 2009 presidential election. After filming the mass protests that erupted in its aftermath, Bahari was arrested and spent 118 days in Tehran's Evin prison, where he was blindfolded, interrogated, and tortured by an intelligence officer he knew only by the scent of his Rosewater cologne. In a surreal twist, part of the case against him stemmed from a satirical interview he had previously done on The Daily Show, which Iranian authorities presented as evidence that he was an American spy. This has a 76 Rotten Tomato score and a 68 audience score. So I ask you, Farhan June, capital F, capital J, what did you think of Jon Stewart's Rosewater?
I have mixed feelings.
Thank you very much, Farhan. That's been another episode. Yeah. So you have mixed feelings.
I think it's a story that's worth
1,000 voices.
Yeah. It's a story that's worth exploring and sharing with people. But was this Jon Stewart's first movie? Do you know?
It was. It is his directorial debut.
Weirdly, it felt like the movie didn't really have like a consistent framework to the movie. Like there were lots of different stylistic decisions made in the movie. But I found that those stylistic decisions were like not cohesive between each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
To give an example, when the movie starts, there's this like montage with poetry and it's very like melancholic and thoughtful and all this stuff.
Yeah, it begins with a poem by Ahmed Shamlou.
Yeah.
Which I think we've covered in another episode.
Yes, yeah, we have.
Appeared in.
But then we get this like jump cutty funny montage where they're like break into his house, like pop stars come to his house and they're like, is this porn? Is this porn? Is this porn? Which is like, yeah, which is like, oh, okay, this is like kind of funny now. And then we get like a to the audience voiceover narration at the 10-minute mark in the movie. And usually if you have like narration like that in a movie, you start with it. But we're now 10 minutes into the movie and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now suddenly there's a narrator. And then we don't get the narrator again until the end of the movie. Then we get this really cool like newsreel intercut footage. There's like a scene where hashtags, like visible hashtags are flying across the screen. There's all these
and also
different...
just because you glossed over during the montage, the narration, it's this like surreal thing where he's walking through the streets and the signs behind him are becoming like his memories of his past. Like kind of dips a bit into surrealism of like what you're physically seeing.
So there's just like different creative elements, which on their own, any of those ideas I think are really interesting ideas, but it's like he's taking bits and pieces of ideas from different genres of movies or different styles of movies, and he's like blending them all together. Yeah. Which just this is more of like a technical thing where it's like, yeah, it's like a bunch of good things, but I don't know if all those good things work too well together, if that makes sense.
Yeah. This film, I think for this episode, I'm going to jump a little bit behind, like back and forth on behind the scenes and trivia, just because it's like the only way to really talk about this film. Mm-hmm. But essentially, Maziar Bahari was he was a journalist for Newsweek, had gone there to film the protests and then agreed to do the Daily Show. Now, Jon Stewart had said in the interviews that they tried to get press credentials for Iran for years. And then up until the 2009 elections, there had been like a loosening of like this like restrictions towards what they were allowed to do. And they were for the first time ever allowed to come into Iran and do their interviews.
At the Daily Show, we had been trying to get to Iran. They were dubbed as part of the axis of evil. Obviously, we wanted to send a correspondent there to see just how evil they were.
Iran is not evil. That sounds like something a terrorist would say.
Then we got a call that Maziar had been arrested. They played a clip of our correspondent. They wanted to know why a spy was talking to him.
It's a show.
It's a show?
A comedy show. It's stupid.
It's very stupid, yes.
We felt like a huge dick. You felt horrible.
So can you tell me why American spy had chosen to interview you?
And why would a real spy have a TV show?
Maziar gave me a nice amount of shit. Then we just became friends.
He was arrested not for that interview, but once that he was interviewed for suspicion of espionage they saw him, they'd been following him for what they now think was like weeks or days at least. But they used the Daily Show as like the nail in the coffin to be like, you are clearly a spy. And to which he joked, apparently in real life, was like, why would a spy have a show where he talks about being a spy? Like that logic doesn't logic.
Yeah.
After he was released, he did write the book with a writer named Amy Molloy called Then They Came For Me, A Family Story of Love, Captivity, and Survival. He had interviewed Jon Stewart for this book as like a follow-up to what had happened to him. And they became friends in real life. And Bahari had asked, he's like, Jon Stewart was like, he told Jon Stewart, I want to make this into a film. Can you help me with your connections? And he's like, I will happily come on as a producer. And they looked for writers and filmmakers. I don't know if they were exclusively looking for Iranian writers and filmmakers, but they were looking for other people to helm this project. And they thought that it was so timely for like Iran, what was happening at the time, specifically, I guess, that they were like, the fastest way to get this made and to get like funding approved and like getting investors on board is if Jon Stewart comes and just makes this film. And so he started writing the script with Bahari. Like, I mean, not like as a credited screenwriter, but like they became friends. They talked about the subject matter for years before they'd even agreed to make the film. He sort of came on, and he does in his interviews talk about how he isn't a filmmaker. Like they shot this in Jordan during Ramadan, during the Syrian civil war. And like they were like 80 kilometers away from like war. And Jon Stewart was talking to an all Arabic speaking crew in Jordan and saying, these are the circumstances we're shooting. The good news is I've never done this before. So you guys are in charge of telling me how to direct the film. Like, and I'm saying all this because that actually kind of speaks to what you're saying, where it's like, this is kind of does have this rudderless, like non-specific tonal
it's almost like
catastrophe.
It's almost like multiple, like every scene was directed by a different director.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't think any of those scenes in a vacuum are particularly bad.
No, yeah.
But I think that where it starts to feel weird is that it's like, did you ever see those YouTube videos where they'll be like, oh, every scene of this movie, like they'll get a community of fans to remake a movie.
Yeah. It's like those things.
And they'll be like, okay, every fan can do like a different scene or whatever. And then you watch it through and it like, yeah, it's all the same movie, but like one scene is like an animation and one scene is like a Western and one is like a drama. Like,
and I think that does sort of peter away after the first act. Like once he's arrested, it's kind of does feel a little bit more like one movie. Once he's like under interrogation, right? To the most part. But I want to play a few clips.
In a story like about Iran, how do you find the truth? I mean, who decides what the truth is? And how do you find it?
Well, I don't. I mean, the other thing is I have to kind of own my inauthenticity. I'm not Iranian. So no matter what I do, for someone who lives there, this will be a simplistic and reductive version of their life. But hopefully, from a Western performer for a Western audience, it's a more nuanced look into a country that we've called evil. And, you know, if the dialogue between our two countries is, you're the axis of evil, well, you're the great Satan, that's a pretty reductive conversation. So anything I do, hopefully, will be a slightly more complex and nuanced version of that conversation. And hopefully, I think the film accomplishes that idea of showing that it's not so easy to dismiss it as one-dimensional parties going at each other, that there's a lot of complexity there. For me, the film is just a reflection of Maziar's book, which is, again, an interpretation of his experience. So within that, truth is probably a relatively elusive figure in all this, but I think the film is true to his reflection of his experience. And I think that's probably as close as I can get to what I wanted to achieve.
But the other thing that he's like, Maziar Bahari says, he keeps saying that this film isn't about him. Like this, despite how much he's like, this is a film about journalists all around the world. It's about journalists all around the world who are being imprisoned under attack. The journalists that he felt that he left there in Evin prison, not just Iranian based. They're looking at this thematically as a larger like freedom of speech from authoritarian countries. And so in one way, you could argue that Jon Stewart would actually be an appropriate, like for someone to talk about truth to power and telling telling stories of journalistic integrity, like from that lens, he does have a sense of like understanding from that world. He's considered at one point one of the most trusted newsmen in America. Non-ironically.
Also, Maziar Bahari, like he's For those who don't know him or like don't know like a history about him, this whole idea of journalistic integrity is very important to him, and he is a champion for it.
Yeah.
And this whole thing of like of journalistic standards, like he takes that very seriously, and I don't think that there's any other Iranian news outlet that I'm aware of that takes journalistic standards to the extent that he does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like it's one of the issues that I have with some of the other Iranian news outlets, like even the ones in the diaspora, is that they will play a little fast and loose if it means getting a story out faster, or if it means that they're like, well, it might piss off our readers, blah blah blah. No, Iran Wire, like the one that he founded and he runs, is like they've been consistently really really good with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know that about him. And you said you have ties with him through like he isn't Baha'i, but he's got like he's done like documentaries and he's connected to the Baha'i faith.
Yeah,
right?
one of the many causes that he's like taken on in terms of what's happened in Iran, and you know, trying to provide a spotlight on the truth and exposing some of the government conspiracies in Iran, is the persecution of the Baha'is. So he's done a lot of talks on what he's discovered through his own journalism. Iran Wire consistently covers the persecution of Baha'is in Iran, where a lot of other outlets may not. Some outlets will do it when it's kind of like cool and trendy to talk about it, but Iran Wire has been pretty consistent with shedding a light on it, to the point where like when my aunt and uncle were in prison, I reached out to Maziar and he connected me with one of the journalists from Iran Wire. That interview that I did with them got picked up by other outlets, and then that pressure, we believe, contributed to potentially an earlier release of my aunt and uncle. Because as the movie explores, when there's an abundance of negative PR on the Iranian regime for what it's doing, and for its cracking down, it can start to make them look weak at a certain point.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, they're like, there is no benefit to keeping this person prisoner if they're causing this much of like a PR issue.
Yeah.
Because as long as the Iranian government can maintain a certain level of positive PR and like play the victim, they can get away with a lot. They can get away with a lot of human rights violations. And we see that in this movie.
When you get past the sort of kaleidoscopic nature of its tone, did you find yourself settling into the story and enjoying it as like a beacon for a story about media and transparency in the media? And
I was thinking
like,
about it.
did you find it achieved its mission?
No, you know what? I think that we spend too much time with him in the jail. There's a number of movies that I've seen that kind of do this. The other one was the other Hollywood hit job, September's of Shiraz, where we spend a lot of time with him in prison. And I think that is a mistake, especially in this movie, where it's a movie about journalistic integrity and truth to power and all that stuff. I think that should have been the climax of the movie, as opposed to like the entirety of the third act or whatever. Or even like, doesn't that happen? Isn't that like the halfway point in the movie?
When he's arrested?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about that.
Yeah, which I think is like kind of a mistake. Yeah, it's even before that. It's before the halfway point.
I like about that decision.
It's the second act. It's the end of the first act where he gets arrested. It's basically the first turning point, which I think pacing wise after that point, the movie I feel like kind of grinds to a halt. What
I like about that decision though, sort of, is this like the decision to keep him firmly in the prison is an interesting one, because you really never, it's like you're 99% in that prison cell with him for that duration of that film. Whereas I think even like there's a lot of other movies that do that prison sentence movie, but you like take times, you break out, you go into like what the world, like the worried wife, what is she doing at home trying to fight the cops, or like there's a few times they show when he makes his confession on a news report that you see the mother watching on TV, but you don't get much story out of that other than she's watching it. And I actually remember thinking the first time, and it had the same to like a somewhat successful effect for me, is second time watching, when he suddenly first realizes that everybody's been talking about him.
Yeah.
That's an uplifting moment for me, because you feel so sheltered and sequestered in the same way that he is. And then you kind of get this like quick little montage of like all the people that have been fighting for him His wife has been making
yeah.
calls to his mother. And it's like, that actually is, that almost feels like they did a good job of like capturing the emotion that he must have felt. Because there's right before that, he's like this moment when he's hallucinating, talking to his family members who have passed. And I think he tells his sister or his father in like a memory form that he's like, the world has forgotten about me. Like they've forgotten about me. And because as the film like squarely focuses on him, you're like, oh yeah, like we have no idea how anyone's reacting to him being gone. He's just taken away and you're gone with him.
Now, I will also say that the movie shows us in a montage how all these news stations are talking about him before he finds out. Because we get that montage with all the news stations, then they call him Mr. Hillary Clinton. And he's like, what? And then he's like, yeah, Hillary Clinton's been talking about you.
Yeah.
I kind of wish they had done it in the reverse order.
But I think that you realize, you almost get a flashback to the events in a fast forward little montage of the events happening from that day. Like he got arrested that day and his mother went straight to the phone and got a hold of like lawyers and stuff. Like it repeats the events in like a little fast forwarded little sequence.
Yeah.
Can I just really quickly also like read this Shamlu quote because I really liked it. Shamlu, Ahmad Shamlu. It's very
Shamlu, yeah.
It's a perfect quote. It's, they smell your breath, lest you might have said I love you. They smell your heart. These are strange times, my dear. He who knocks on your door at midnight has come to kill the light. We better hide light in the closet.
Solid.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
How did you feel about the movie's representation of Iranians?
My biggest problem is like, I'm going to jump ahead to my thing too. We're jumping around a lot. I'll just repeat it when we get there. But I think Jon Stewart's biggest failure here is not casting more Iranians in the film.
I agree.
We have a Mexican actor playing the lead.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Maybe he was the best actor for the role. Fine. You have a Dutch actor playing the tormentor. You have Davud, like that friend companion guy who's like his buddy and kind of like ends up in jail with him. That's played by a Greek/English actor. Our buddy Arya Moayed's in the film.
Yeah.
And then aside from other smaller roles, there aren't that many. And then of course it's like that. You play the hits of Iranian actors. You have Shohreh Akdashlu playing a role.
Yeah.
You have Golshifteh Farahani playing a role. It's like a cover song of an Iranian film.
Yeah. It also seems like there a couple, like Aryan and a few of the other actors that they have, and they're Iranian actors, they're not doing the Persian accent for the most part. A lot of them are mimicking the like fake Arab accent that the non-Iranian actors are doing. And I think part of it is like, well, when you have like 90% of your actors, they're talking like this. They're like, oh yes, this is the Iranian voice, whatever. You can't have one guy come in and be like, no, just, we are here at Evin. We are just going to interrogate this guy right now. Like, it doesn't work. Because then it's like, okay, well, this guy's voice is very different than everybody else. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I will give credit to Aryan where he was actually able to kind of do something in the middle where he was mimicking what like 90% of the other actors were doing, but it still had a hint of the Persian accent in there, like a real Persian accent.
Yeah.
Gael Garcia Bernal's accent in this was really bothering me a lot of the times because sometimes
was he even doing
his
one?
Sometimes it was his natural accent. And then in other scenes when he was acting with actors who were like really hamming up like a fake Arab accent, then he started doing it on top of his Mexican accent.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Also, like,
yeah, that's insane. I didn't even.
There's a number of times where people use like Allah and stuff. Where they'll be like, "Oh, praise Allah," whatever. Which, like, even in Persian, you wouldn't say that. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, and even the music in the movie was very like Orientalist.
Yeah.
There's like a scene where Gael Garcia Bernal writes something on the wall, and like they framed it up so like his face is in the shot when he's writing on the wall. And obviously he doesn't write in Persian, and I'm sure that he tried his best and he practiced a ton. But like, it doesn't matter how much he practices, he's not going to be able to mimic someone who's been writing Farsi for 40 years, right? Yeah. So it just looks like kindergarten writing on the wall. Mm-hmm. A lot of these things to me is like, yeah, this movie is not meant for Iranians.
Yeah.
This is absolutely a movie that's meant for non-Iranians to get a brief look at some of the human rights violations happening in Iran, which is fair. It's just like, as an Iranian, I felt like the representation did not feel authentic of our culture.
Yeah, Jon Stewart like went on a huge press tour after this film talking about this. And I actually think that if anyone's interested in knowing more about this film beyond listening to this podcast, you should hear like some of the more bigger press junkets he did with Maziar on this film. He did one like that stood out was like Bill O'Reilly on the O'Reilly Factor because that was still a thing at the time.
The no spin zone.
So yeah, exactly. And their relationship has always been like very interesting to say the least between Jon Stewart and Bill O'Reilly. Kind of like a begrudging respect for one another on the opposite spectrums.
Yeah.
And he was just like, he asked about the film and he's like, but it doesn't seem like this guy was like much of a guy who would be a rabble rouser to these Islamic regime guys. And it's like, you don't seem to like villainize them. Like, aren't they terrorists? And Jon Stewart was like, well, it's not my place to say, but like, I don't listen. He's like, I don't like what they do to the people of Iran, talking about the Islamic regime. Yeah. And he's like, I don't like what they do to the journalists. But he's like, I don't like what we do to the people of Iran, talking about Americans. He's like, I don't like what we do to our journalists. And like Jon Stewart, again, having this like very wider scope at looking at these issues, doesn't get in these trapped got you moments where it's like Bill O'Reilly's like, well, just talk about how the people of Iran are all like, they are like this. And he's like, yeah, what the government does to the people are garbage. And he's like, I also don't forgive what we do to the people of Iran. And then think about this like 15 years ago, right? And he's like, and I don't like what we do to our people and our media journalists. Like, we're not excused from this.
Yeah. Literally, the two guys who broke the story about the weapons of mass destruction thing in Iraq not being true or founded were turned into pariahs.
Yeah.
In the media world.
Yeah. And also, like, he was just saying, like, all I really wanted to do with a film like this was, like, if they're just going to keep calling our country the Great Satan, and we're just going to call them the axis of evil, well, that's no longer going to be a place where we're going to even like meet a common ground of understanding. And he's like, hopefully the hope for this film is to close that bridge by a little bit so that people from both sides could like understand that. Again, I'm like kind of getting a little bit of a flowery. He was speaking much more eloquently on this issue, but he was like, he was like more interested in telling a story that he was moved by. He knew the guy personally, and there was an element to like the freedom fighting that has come from media and journalism integrity that is being at risk in fascist countries. I think that was more important to him than like, he clearly was, he did his best, but it was like the little idiosyncratic cultural stuff was not the thing that he was equipped with doing.
Yeah.
But there's a kind of thing that like, the thing that bothers me, and one of the reasons we do Hollywood Hit Job is there is this like, when it comes to appropriation, there's like this like cultural tourism that filmmakers like to do where it's like, we're not Iranian, but like, let's take a trip down this exotic Arabia country. And I don't need to name specific filmmakers out, but you know the ones I'm talking about, that it's like they are very happy to explore our culture as a cultural tourist on their cinema screen. But then when it comes to like representing the women life freedom movement or war in Iran, they're suddenly very, very silent. Yeah. Right? And it's like, oh, you were very happy with the cultural tourism that came to making your movie, but you don't want to do any of the work. Whereas Jon Stewart, at very least, has always been a vocal proponent for the Women Life Freedom Movement, for the Iranian people. And he isn't doing this like cultural tourism thing that I think what a Hollywood Hit Job would accuse filmmakers of doing. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's what's really interesting is we can't find the interview. I can't find it anywhere on the internet that Bahari did. I can't find that interview that they did in the film that you see. I can't find the interview he did afterwards when he came on the Daily Show. All of it seems to be completely scrubbed. Like I can't even find like third party people who like copied, like T-voted, and like it's nowhere to be found, which is very interesting. I don't know why that is.
I mean, the episode where he interviews him, I think was the same episode where he, like that journalist travels around Iran.
Oh, Jason Jones?
Yeah, it was a good episode.
But then they interviewed him again after he was arrested.
Yeah. That's a different one.
Yeah.
The original one, he's like going around Iran, and he like it's almost like a travel vlog / news story in one episode. It's really
comedy
fun.
Piece.
Yeah. That one, it's a really fun episode.
One thing I'll add here is my dad was held in Evin prison during the Islamic regime's chokehold of power. And he didn't tell me many stories about his time there, but he did say that like almost every day they would threaten to kill you. Like, today's the day we're going to kill you. And they would never follow through with it. But he was like, it didn't matter how many times you heard it. You'd believe it. Like, you were like, this is it. And they kind of had that. Remember that time in the scene where he takes him out of the fake shooting him with the head? Yeah. So that part was accurate. Yeah. How do you feel about the tormentor's character feeling like, did you get a sense that guy was like conflicted? Like, do you remember there was a scene who's like, but he but he cooperated and made the video. Like, there was an element of them trying to do that.
Yeah,
right?
I think there's like a gap in the acting because there's a lot of times where for that tormentor or interrogator where I was like kind of questioning what his intention was, and it did not feel intentional by the filmmaker for us to feel that way. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
and
weird.
I kind of just chalked it up to like not great performances by him.
I actually thought it was more like not like really grounding the character. Like, you don't. It's like a very simplistic way of making your character feel well-rounded. Like, oh, he's a tormentor, but he's also he's also like struggling with the morality of what he's doing. I'm like, I don't think that's about the stories about him. Like, there's a moment you see him like talking on the phone with his wife, and he's trying to like, no, they're gonna keep me here longer, honey. I don't know why. I gotta go. It's like weird. It was very weird.
Yeah.
The film also ends with there are currently hundreds of journalists and thousands of blogger activists imprisoned around the world for the crime of bearing witness. At home in London, Maziar now works tirelessly to bring their plight to international attention. 5 days after his release, Maziar was behind the camera again, filming the birth of his daughter. I also really like the song that played at the end during the credits. Did you not like that? I know you said it was like a little bit of Orientalist, but the song at the end was like a little bit of an upbeat hip-hop jazzy blend. I think it was called Ye Bade Khonak by an Iranian group called 25 Band.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, you heard it?
Yeah, that's cool. I meant like there's scenes where they would like use instruments that like we don't even use. Like they'd use Indian or like Armenian or Arab instruments.
Yeah. It's also, there's something interesting too about how like Maziar, his father had been arrested and tortured by the Shah. Mm-hmm. His sister was arrested and tortured by Khomeini. Mm-hmm. And he was under this current regime, was still Khomeini, but like every generation of this guy's family had been arrested and tortured by like some government in charge.
Yo, the poor mom having to like deal with that.
Seriously. Okay, behind the scenes in trivia. This is Jon Stewart's directing debut. You know what? I'll just skip all the ones I already said. Jason Jones was cast to play himself because of an interview with The Daily Show that partially led to Bahari's imprisonment. You know, it's worth mentioning, this counts as behind the scenes trivia. A lot of the comedic elements in this apparently really happened. Like that talk about like him like sexually enticing him by talking about the stuff you do with massage parlors.
Yeah. And
like all this talk about New Jersey. Apparently the interrogator was obsessed with New Jersey in real life. Like what happens in New Jersey.
That's really funny. I don't doubt that stuff. Yeah. Like even when I'm saying like I would have liked to have seen it cut down, it's not because I'm like, oh, this stuff is fake, blah, 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 blah. It just has to do with pacing.
Yeah. About his experience, Maziar said, it's as if they read Kafka and thought it was a good way to run a government. And then said, it's not absurd enough. Let's add a bit of Monty Python to the Kafka. I knew one day during an interrogation that I'm going to get out and write about this because they gave me so much material to work with. Whenever my interrogator said something idiotic or had a weird feeling about New Jersey or life in general, I just went and retained it and thought about how I'm going to use it later on in a story. Due to the content of the film, Stewart has been accused by Iran State TV of being funded by Zionists and working with the CIA.
Of course.
That's just what they say. Like the second you don't like Jon Stewart might be a lot of things, like a Hollywood liberal or whatever. He's definitely not funded by the Zionists, and he's definitely not working with the CIA.
Yeah, that's why I love that scene where he starts to laugh at the torturer.
Yeah.
Because he realizes like, oh, you are like very insecure.
Yeah.
Like you guys are just super insecure. Because they're like, she can't criticize us. Nobody can criticize us. Get your wife to do this, and that, and whatever. And he's just like, he just starts laughing.
Yeah.
It just like shows what a farce it is.
Yeah. The vast majority of Rosewater was filmed in Amman, Jordan, during a 5-week shoot in the summer of 2013 in scorching heat during Ramadan, during the Syrian civil war.
Did you notice Maziar Bahari in the movie?
Oh yeah, I read that he had a cameo and I forgot where he was. No, I didn't. Where was he?
He's one of the state TV journalists covering the confession.
Oh, that's cool. That's interesting. The production also incorporated real footage shot in Iran, a lot of it by Maziar himself.
Yeah.
And the contacts he had inside the country. They provided genuine footage from Tehran, including some establishing shots and scenes from the 2009 Green Movement protest. These were images blended with Jordan's shot material to make the film geographically authentic.
It's also worth pointing out that like everyone in the movie is speaking English, but they're speaking English with Persian accents or like Arab accents.
Yeah.
But then there's also some lines that are in Persian as well. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's weird. I know it's like very loose behind the scenes, but it's worth mentioning to like if you're watching the movie and you don't know Persian.
To what you said about him laughing at the tormentor, I was looking for this line. Jon Stewart said, I want people to leave the theater with the idea that this type of oppression of your own people is unsustainable. Yeah. Ultimately, they're more afraid of us than we are of them.
Absolutely. They're doing it because of an insecurity.
Yeah. Jon Stewart has spoken about the challenges of production. Although Jordan could convincingly double for Tehran, there were some important cultural and logistical differences because Jordan is predominantly Sunni and Iran is predominantly Shia. The crew couldn't simply film in the local mosques, and they had to carefully adapt production design and locations to reflect Iran's distinct architectural and culture.
Well, and even then, like Evin prison is like presented as if it's this metal barn in the middle of the desert, but in reality, Evin prison is in Tehran.
This is the exact quote for I was asked by Bill O'Reilly directly. He goes, "Is it against the government? Don't you want to demonize them?" And he's like, on the question of demonizing the Iranian, he goes, "I don't think people should be demonized because when you create a demon or as a monster, you can't fight it effectively.
Yeah,
you have to see it as a human to be able to stop it."
Yeah,
Jon Stewart's really good at those like gotcha questions that he gets thrown at.
Yeah,
well,
like,
and Republicans
and this, I have a lot of Jewish friends who've said that about, like, in history class, or like when conversations come up about Nazis, when people are like, "Oh, they're monsters," whatever. They talk about Hitler, and he's presented like a monster. A lot of my Jewish friends were always quick to be like, "No, we need to accept the fact that these are human beings, and that human beings are capable of doing these sorts of things. And if you can't accept that, then the next time someone like this comes around, you will be ill-equipped to deal with it."
Yeah. The audition clip they used for Gael Gabriel, what's his name?
Gael Garcia Bernal.
Gael Garcia Bernal, was the phone call scene when he has to go from fear to speaking to his wife to hope to realizing that he's going to have a daughter to standing up to the government. Like, you remember that big turn?
Yeah.
To laughing? That was the scene they had used during audition.
That's solid.
Said,
that was a good scene.
He said he crushed it. Jon Stewart left The Daily Show for 3 months to make this, and he wrote the screenplay in his spare time. He said he felt personally implicated in the arrest of Maziar. "We didn't know the scope of the thousands who had been caught up in it. We didn't think it was a risk because our worldview was so myopic. Loosening up the restrictions in 2009, we were told the media credentials were finally approved. Our first instinct was to, when we had found out about Maziar's imprisonment, our first instinct was to kill the bits, get rid of them. We spoke to other people involved with Maziar and other people who they had a few colleagues that were the sons of people who are currently under arrest in Iran, and they had all said the opposite. He said the more exposure, the better. Transparency will be the only thing that will save these people. So we didn't kill the bits."
Solid.
Yeah, that's it for behind the scenes trivia.
Cool.
Critical reactions. The film received generally positive reviews, but was a box office bomb, earning only a little over $3 million. Richard Krause gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The movie is very straightforward, but does bring sincerity and emotion to the film. But the overall never give up message seems trite given the backdrop of the story. Mark Kermode from The Observer, I really like Kermode as a critic. He gave it 3 out of 5 as well, saying the story is engrossing and engaging. And Stewart takes care to remind us that the real victims of oppressive regimes are those who live with them on a daily basis. And then this won the 2014 Winner of Freedom of Expression Award by the National Board of Review and Phoenix Film Critics Society Award. It was a nominee for Breakthrough Performance. Yeah, mostly kind of tepid reviews, to be honest. A lot of 3 out of 5s.
Yeah, and I feel like that's not surprising.
Deeper analysis. I have a pretty strong one.
Yeah. Let's hear it, because I don't really have much aside from the stated stuff in the movie about truth to power.
Yeah, I this is the one quote I had remembered from 2014 when I heard Jon Stewart say this interview. He goes, he was asked about the film, and he was like, "I want to give a bit of warning to oppressive regimes everywhere. Don't capture journalists because they'll remember all the shit you did to them." He said this actually at TIFF, and you know who interviewed him at TIFF?
Was it Cameron Bailey?
No, who's the most prominent Iranian in our industry to a certain point in 2014?
Canadian Iranian? Oh.
Jian Ghomeshi.
That's funny.
Jian Ghomeshi interviewed him for TIFF, and they said, and he was like, he said a bit of warning to regimes, don't capture journalists. They'll remember everything. He's like, you capture a dumb comedian like me, but I don't know what happened. I just remember being hit and then it got dark. But he said, I was really impressed with Maziar's memoir because his attention to detail was really good about the stuff that happened to him. So I think this film is at its core, it's the political power of journalism, and the only tool in the fight against oppression and fascism is media, like journalists doing their job.
Yep.
It ends really nicely with that little kid at the rooftop seeing the satellites being destroyed. And what does he do? Do you remember?
He takes out his
Nokia phone.
Yeah, his phone,
Yeah.
and he starts taking videos or photos.
I think this is a film about how journalism is the most powerful tool sometimes we have. This will go directly to my damn that's poetry quote later on.
Yeah. And you know what?
You know the line.
Yeah. Without getting into it too much, I wish there was more of that in the movie.
Yeah,
Like
you're
I
right.
wanted
That
to
is-
see
that is the
more
most
of
interesting.
like that. I think that's the heart of the film. Is I want to see him struggling with. Does he want to get involved? Does he not get involved? What is the extent to which he gets involved? Maybe the first time he just kind of records it incidentally, and then as the movie goes on, he gets more and more and more involved. I know that that's not exactly how it happened in real life, but for the sake of the movie, I would have liked that.
You know, it's funny too. Like, I'm just thinking of this right now. A thought I just had. This film might actually be more interesting if it was from every other perspective outside the prison law, like the journalists at Newsweek and the journalists at Daily Show and like the producers of those shows. Like hearing them be like, "Should we kill the bit?" and like talking to other prisoners and their sons being like, "No," like those scenes would have felt like more interesting. No, do you not agree? There's an element to that.
For sure. Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing that too.
Best scene. What's your favorite scene?
My favorite scene is when he's walking through the street
Yeah.
earlier on in the movie and he's like narrating the history of Iran and himself and his family. And we see the images of his memories and what he's explaining kind of projected on the windows.
Nice.
I thought it was a really interesting way to like initiate the audience into a history of Iran.
Mine was the call with his wife. I actually, for a moment, teared up.
was a great
I'm a
scene.
father. It's destroyed me.
Yeah.
When he's like, "We're gonna have a daughter," I instantly teared up. I thought of my daughter, and I was just like, "Yeah, I can't do these things anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't. I fall to pieces."
That was a great scene. Big fan.
It's also a great scene because it's like, in that moment, the tormentor realizes he had made a mistake allowing him to give him the call because the call gave him like resurgence of like
Yeah,
hope. And,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And it results in him doing the dance in the prison to Leonard Cohen.
Yeah.
That actor's name is Kim Bodnia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The dance took me out a little bit because when he first starts doing the dance, he's like clearly doing like bachata at the beginning, and it's like that's not Persian dancing at all. Just reminded me.
Well, he's dancing
that,
to Leonard Cohen though.
Yeah, but the way
In
that
his
he's
head.
dancing, he's like not Persian dancing. He's not it's not even like a slow dance. Like he like straight up starts the dance like doing bachata to himself. And then it becomes this like more figurative, interpretive dance.
All right, damn, that's poetry.
What do you got?
I have two. I have a number one and runner up. So do you have one?
I have one and a runner up as well. When the interrogator is like going through different topics that they've like flagged about him to ask him about, he goes, "Who is Anton Chekhov?" And then he stops for a second and he's like, "Anton Chekhov, the playwright?" And then he's like, "You tell me.
Yeah.
It is you who's listed him as an interest on Facebook." I was like, that's funny.
Yeah, that's a funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
My runner up is not funny, but he said it's very serious actually. When he's speaking to like the memory of his sister who'd also passed away, played by Golshifte, she goes, "You're afraid? They're afraid. They torture you for the crime of bearing witness. They're weak, not you, Maziar."
Solid.
My number one is during the protests of the Green Revolution protests, and he's talking to Davud, his new friend that he's made, and he's like,
You have a real weapon and you choose not to use it.
and he's referring to the camera by his side.
Yeah, that's a great line.
At
That was in the
34,
trailers.
35.
That was in the trailers, and I was
That
like,
to me speaks to the heart of like the themes I'm talking about. The deeper
100%,
analysis.
and that's why that needed to, I think, be like the entire second act of the film needed to be about that.
Yeah. What's your number one?
My number one is it's after he's come to the city and he's like found a guide to like drive him around who like kind of disappears early on into the movie, but as they're driving, he's like,
Where are we going?
To a dead end.
I was like, oh, that is
yeah,
very, very
Yeah.
smart use of words.
Best performance.
I'm giving it to Gail Garcia Bernal, but I'm gonna give a runner up to Claire Foy. I thought she was pretty solid.
Who's that? The wife?
Yeah, she's the wife. She plays Queen Elizabeth in The Crown.
Oh, I see. Okay.
She doesn't have a lot of scenes, but what they give her, she's like incredible.
I'm gonna give it to the person you think was a bad actor, and I'm gonna give it to Kim Bodnia,
That's crazy.
the tormentor.
That's crazy.
I don't think it was the performance. I think it was the character was not developed properly.
Maybe I like couldn't tell scene to scene like what his motivation was.
But yeah, I think that's a problem.
And I don't think that was, yeah, I could buy that.
Festival of Cons. My one big one, aside from all the stuff we already talked about, is like cast Iranians. I get.
I thought you're like,
I think,
aside
like,
from
it had
all the
this-
stuff we talked about, and then you brought up the one big thing that we already talked about.
Well, I mean, I think the problem here is like I believe if Jon Stewart had made this film now, he'd cast more Iranians. I think Iranians are finally. We've talked about this before. 2014, like Iranians were not getting the roles they get even now, and I still don't think it's enough now. But
Absolutely.
there's a greater pool of that. And if everything had been the same except the film came out now, he'd cast more Iranians.
Yeah.
Maybe not in the lead, but I think definitely like if the tormentor role would be like
I mean,
Navi
like
Mehraban or
that's the
something.
thing. Like even back then, he could have cast Navid as the tormentor. Like Navid was getting work back then. It was like a
I don't
regular
know.
on a bunch of
just-
TV shows. Even like Aryan
it's a
could have had a
pickle.
bigger role. Like Aryan should have
Aryan
played.
could have been Davud.
Aryan could have been Maziar Bahari.
Yeah, I agree.
So I love Gil Garcia
yes.
Bernal, but that should have been Aryan. Straight up.
Yeah. Double feature line. Oh, is that what you have? Festival cons? Anything else other than what we talked about?
Just I already went through mine when I was giving like my general thoughts of the film. But I guess the number one thing is like I wasn't very pleased with the representation of Iranians or Iranian culture. I think what it tried to do in terms of thematically and the message of the film, I think was really good and I think very honorable, especially in representing this like very true story of what Maziar Bahari went through. But in terms of presenting the idiosyncrasies of our culture, I think it like kind of fell on its face a little bit.
Yeah. Double feature lineup. Turtle Power.
I went with the 2024 Brazilian film I'm Still Here by
know
Walter
that one,
Saez.
Yeah, didn't it win the Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film?
It did, and it was very good.
Yeah.
And I think it was well deserved. It's a movie about this woman who ends up getting arrested and like kept prisoner in Brazil during a transitionary period and like a military dictatorship. There's a lot of parallels between the two movies. I thought about Septembers of Shiraz and a few other similar films, but like honestly, I would rather pair this with I'm Still Here because I'm Still Here is a very good movie, and I would rather pair this with a good movie than with a bad movie.
Yeah. Again, similar with mine, this would be a very harrowing, long, kind of emotionally devastating double feature, but I kept coming back to Steve McQueen's 2008 film Hunger, starring Michael Fassbender.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen it.
I have not.
It's about an IRA prisoner, like the Irish Republican Army member, played by Fassbender, who's like, he's enduring like hardships in a British prison under the government, and like he goes on a hunger strike as a form of protest. I think it's based on a true story. It's the most, I didn't like the film. It's harrowing, but I remember like describing once to a friend that I was like, it's like the most cinematic, beautiful way of watching someone die. Over like a 2-hour period, like because this guy just wastes away, and Fassbender lost it, like Fassbender being Fassbender, like amazing actor, just wastes away over a 2-year period. It like takes place over like months, or weeks or whatever it is. Hollywood remake Turtle Power.
Yeah, I could. I mean, like I would want like a lot of times we talk about with these Hollywood hit jobs, would we want like an Iranian remake? I'd be down for an Iranian remake of this.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting. Yeah, to flip it.
Yeah,
I said no because I don't really think I think everything you could say about something more or less already said. There's already all the interviews. There's like book that he wrote.
I mean, I think for me it's like
full Iranian story.
Give it like a more consistent tonal voice. Like give it to a director who like
Rasulov, like Rasulov's version of this film.
Rasulov would be a perfect director to tackle this.
Yeah. Great. I like it. Final thoughts and grades. C+.
Yeah, I could see that. I did the same at first, but I kind of went back and looked at some of my grading for other movies, so it made me adjust it a little bit. So I actually dropped it back down to a C from a C+.
Yeah.
I like the general message of the film. I like what it was tackling what happened to Maziar, and I think it was important to shed a spotlight on it. I just think that like even for a first feature, I thought the lack of tonal consistency made it really hard for me to get into. And then I think also like some of the pacing issues with like him going to jail after like 25 minutes into the movie. And then it's just like, okay, now we're watching like an hour and 10 minutes of him in jail.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's particularly bad, but I also don't think that it's particularly like amazing either. So yeah. Ending mine with a C, which I'm down to round this one up, like our show average score, given that I almost gave it a C+. So that means that our Cinemarex show average score for Rosewater is a C+.
Ultimately, Rosewater is a sincere film about the resilience of the individual, but also about the enduring force of bearing witness. Jon Stewart understands that authoritarian systems survive by controlling information, isolating their victims, and convincing them that they have been forgotten. What makes Bahari's story so moving is the gradual realization that he has not been forgotten at all. Beyond the walls of his cell, his family, fellow journalists, and an international audience are fighting to keep his story alive. The film may be formally straightforward, but its message is not simplistic. By finding absurdity without diminishing the brutality, the humanity without excusing the perpetrators, Rosewater argues that oppression is powerful, but ultimately fragile. Because once a story is witnessed, it becomes impossible to erase. And I think Jon Stewart does exactly that by bringing this film forward and bringing Bahari's story to light. Thank you, Farhan. I mean, on that note, I should just say, like, despite all the stuff we say about Hollywood Hitjob, to round this up and close off the loop, there's a lot of, I don't think I would have known his story. I wouldn't have known about Maziar Bahari's story if it had not been for Jon Stewart.
Yeah, same.
Like, I wouldn't have sought out this book and read it.
Yeah.
So, like, he does exactly what Amos is. Like, he's shining light to the stuff that he thinks is important.
Yeah.
Thank you, Farhan June, for doing this late night edition, After Hours, Hollywood Hitjob, Cinemarex podcast, episode on Jon Stewart's Rosewater.
Thank you, Kava. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Tune in next week for our episode on
Son Mother.
Yes. So watch it ahead of time because we've actually already recorded that episode.
Yeah,
you can
surprise.
Get ahead of it by 2 weeks if you want. Surprise. Happy birthday.
Yeah, surprise. Happy birthday.
And
unless it's
thank
not
you
your
to all our
birthday,
listeners.
then happy on birthday.
Yes. Thank you to all our listeners for tuning in. You can follow us on Cinemarex Podcast on Instagram. Like and follow, subscribe
TikTok,
on all your platforms.
YouTube,
TikTok.
iTunes.
And to everybody else.
Leave reviews. Reviews are very helpful, especially especially on
comment there.
On iTunes reviews are great, or Apple Podcast reviews, or whatever it's called now.
And to everybody else, Be'orni de Vidar.
Bye.
Music for Cinema Rex was written and performed by Sohail Sadinejad.